Well, hello there. This week on the deep dive, we're, diving into some pretty wild weather,
L-
literally and figuratively, right?
Yeah.
We've got scorching heat, surprise hurricanes, and
Oh, yeah.
the rumor mill is churning like a washing machine on spin cycle.
It's like someone hit the shuffle button on the disaster playlist and then just queued up election season drama for maximum impact.
Right. Phoenix is breaking temperature records left and right, and we've got hurricanes waltzing in just in time for Election Day.
Oh, yeah.
It's enough to make anyone wonder if this is just bad luck.
Yeah.
Or is something bigger going on?
The internet seems to think so. Conspiracy theories are swirling faster than a hurricane in a bathtub, and today we're diving headfirst into that storm.
All right, so let's break this down
All
first up. Phoenix.
Yeah.
Where the temperature hit a sizzling 113 degrees this week.
Oh, wow.
You know it's serious when the weather report sounds like a warning label on a bottle of hot sauce.
It's getting serious. And what's really striking is that this kind of heat wave in October, I mean, it used to be practically unheard of.
Right.
But with climate change, these extreme temperatures, they're becoming more and more frequent.
And it's not just a matter of cranking up the AC, right?
Yeah.
What does this kind of extreme heat actually mean for people living in these areas?
That's a great question. It goes beyond just discomfort. We're talking about potential strain on infrastructure, risks to vulnerable populations like the elderly,
Sure.
and increased risks of heat stroke.
Right.
These heat waves can even impact things like agriculture and water resources.
It's like ignoring a small leak in a dam, and suddenly you're facing a flood of problems.
Exactly.
And speaking of ignoring problems, some people are looking at these events and saying, maybe someone's messing with the weather on purpose.
They're talking about those weather manipulation theories.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not entirely new. Governments have dabbled in the idea before, though not with the kind of world-altering results some people imagine.
Right, like that Project Storm Fury back in the day.
Yeah.
They were trying to weaken hurricanes.
Exactly. They were trying to influence the weather, but it wasn't about creating chaos.
Right.
It was about mitigating it.
Right.
But it does make you wonder, what if those capabilities have advanced further than we realize?
That's where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because now we've got these hurricanes,
Yeah.
Helene and Milton, spinning in just as the election is heating up.
Oh, boy.
Coincidence? Or something a little more orchestrated,
Yeah, the timing is certainly interesting.
right?
And the internet is buzzing with theories about whether these hurricanes are a distraction tactic.
Right.
Are we so caught up in the election drama that we're missing something bigger at play?
It's like we're all focused on a magic trick while someone's busy picking our pockets behind the scenes.
Right.
But here's the thing. Even if these hurricanes are natural, the fact that they're happening more often and with more intensity, that's got climate change written all over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it raises the question, are we so busy debating candidates that we're neglecting the bigger, more urgent issue of a changing climate?
It's like being on a runaway train and arguing about who gets to drive
Yeah.
instead of figuring out how to stop the darn thing.
Exactly.
Right.
And it makes you wonder, what's really at stake here?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, are we even asking the right questions, focusing on the right problems? Because while these political debates are raging on, there's a whole segment of the internet pointing to something else entirely. HAARP.
HAARP, the conspiracy theory that just refuses to die.
Right.
For those who haven't stumbled down this particular rabbit hole, what is HAARP and what are people saying it's doing now?
So HAARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program.
Okay.
It's a real research facility, and its purpose is to study the ionosphere,
Right.
which is a layer of our atmosphere. Fascinating stuff.
Science.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing the conspiracy theories don't stop at studying atmosphere conditions.
Not quite.
The online world, well, it's kind of transformed HAARP into a supervillain weather machine.
Right.
Capable of everything from whipping up hurricanes to, cranking up the heat.
Okay, so let's talk about that. How does an idea like that even gain traction? I mean, if scientists could control the weather, wouldn't that be headline news everywhere?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But conspiracy theories often prey on uncertainty and our desire for straightforward answers, When we're faced with something that's complex and frightening, like climate change, is
Sure.
sometimes a clear-cut villain, even a fantastical one. can be more comforting than like a nuanced explanation.
It's almost like choosing a thrilling mystery novel over a dense textbook, right?
Right.
Plus, we've all seen enough headlines to know that sometimes governments and organizations really do operate in the shadows.
Absolutely. History is full of examples of secrecy and, questionable actions which can erode public trust and make it easier to believe in those cover-ups and hidden agendas.
So, playing devil's advocate here, what kind of evidence do these HAARP theorists point to? What makes them connect these dots, so to speak?
Well, they often cite the timing of events like these recent hurricanes,
Hmm.
especially with the election kind of looming in the background.
Right.
They'll also point to like unusual cloud formations or strange atmospheric disturbances and claim these are byproducts of HAARP's alleged energy beams.
I'll admit unusual cloud formations are pretty cool,
Right.
but I'm guessing there are more down-to-earth explanations for those kinds of things.
There are. Meteorologists are constantly studying these phenomena and can usually attribute them to, perfectly natural atmospheric conditions.
Right.
But for someone who's already convinced of a conspiracy, those explanations, they might not be convincing. They might see it as part of the cover-up itself.
It's a bit like trying to convince someone Bigfoot isn't real. No
Hmm.
matter how much evidence you present, they've always got a way to fit it into their existing belief system.
Exactly. It's a concept called confirmation bias,
Right.
where we tend to favor and seek out information that confirms what we already believe.
Right.
Even if that information is inaccurate or misleading, we see it all the time, especially online.
So where does this leave us? Are we at the mercy of shadowy government agencies controlling the weather while we're distracted by election results and the latest viral video?
While that's certainly a dramatic thought, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But it does underscore the importance of critical thinking,
Sure.
media literacy, and turning to reliable sources of information.
Yeah.
Just because something sounds compelling or fits neatly into our worldview, that doesn't make it true.
It's like that old saying goes, don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Right. Exactly.
But seriously, with so much information out there, how can people sift through it all and figure out what's real and what's just noise?
That's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
Look for evidence-based reporting. Check the sources of information you come across and be wary of those attention-grabbing headlines or claims that sound, too good or too bad to be
Oh.
true.
Solid advice. And speaking of things that sound too crazy to be true, let's bring this back to that heat wave in Phoenix. We've talked about climate change and conspiracy theories, but what does all of this mean for the average person sweating it out in their living room?
That's a crucial point, and it gets to the heart of why we even bother exploring these topics.
Right.
Because while conspiracy theories can be captivating,
Sure.
the very real threat of climate change is here. It's happening now.
Yeah.
And it affects everyone.
It's like that saying, we're all in the same boat. Or maybe in this case, we're all on the same rapidly heating planet.
Exactly. And just like on a ship, the decisions we make today will determine our course for the future.
So it's not just about a few hot days here and there. It's about recognizing like the bigger picture of a changing climate and what that means for all of us.
Yeah, precisely. We're talking about, the potential for more frequent and intense heat waves, rising sea levels that could displace entire communities, impacts on agriculture and food security, and even like the potential for social and political unrest. This isn't just about the weather. We're talking about the very foundation of our world as we know it.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, but when you step back and look at it like that, it really puts things into perspective. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored scorching temperatures, those surprise hurricanes, election year anxieties, and even delved into the world of weather control conspiracies with HAARP.
Yeah.
But now we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We've presented, hopefully a lot of interesting information, and we always encourage our listeners to draw their own conclusions.
Right.
What do you make of all of this?
Yeah. Do you see these events as isolated incidents or part of a larger, more worrying trend? Are you concerned about the potential for things like, actual weather manipulation? Or do you think those fears are unfounded? We're not here to tell you what to think, but rather to encourage, critical thinking and thoughtful discussion.
It's about asking questions, examining different perspectives, and perhaps even challenging your own assumptions.
Right.
After all, that's how we learn and grow.
Exactly. This deep dive is about exploration, not just providing easy answers.
Yeah.
So as you continue to navigate this, complex world, remember to do your own research, evaluate your sources carefully, and be open to changing your mind as you learn more.
Yeah, be open to new information.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, before we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question, inspired by something we came across in our research.
Okay.
What if, and this is a big what if, someday in the not-so-distant future, we actually figure out how to control the weather?
That's a fascinating, albeit slightly daunting thought.
Yeah.
Because if we did have that power, that is immense responsibility.
Right.
I mean, who gets to decide when and where it rains? Who controls the thermostat of the planet?
Right. Those are some heavy questions, and there are no easy answers. So, while you're pondering those conspiracy theories, maybe spend a little time reflecting on those ethical dilemmas, too.
Yeah.
Because the future of our planet might depend on it.
On that note, we'll leave you with that thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged.
And hey, keep an eye on those skies. You never know what you might see.